Drew Brees, the Saints quarterback, joining us on behalf of the Super Service Challenge. We'll get to that coming up in a moment. Now, I've seen your jump shot, Drew, and I was just talking about the greatest shooters of all time. Now, if I say that, greatest shooter of all time, the first name is who?
Just all-around shooter. We talking about like the clutch shot shooter? What are we talking?
Just
because I'd say Robert Ory, maybe best clutch shot shooter of all time.
Okay. What about the best shooter? Best form?
That's just natural shooter. Well, it's hard after watching that Steph Curry YouTube video where he makes 94 out of 100 to not say that this guy is something special. I mean, I couldn't make 94 out of 100 layups.
No, I don't believe that. I as competitive as you are.
Well, okay, I can make 94 out of 100 layups, but I mean, free throws. Take it. That's unbelievable.
What if I had the quarterbacks get together for a shooting contest?
You should rig that. You should set that up. Well, here's the thing: we all think we're much better than we are.
Okay, who would you be worried about? Who would you be concerned with? It came down to just shooting, not one-on-one, just shooting.
Well, I think when I was on, I believe it was on your set in New Orleans at Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A couple of years back, Matthew Stafford was coming in around the same time as me, and so we kind of sat back there shooting a little bit. He seems a bit like a gym rat. Like he'd be in there, kind of, sneaky good, right? Come out looking kind of sloppy, and you'd say this guy can't play, and then he would just sit there and shoot the lights out.
I didn't know this. Jesse Palmer was on with us yesterday, and he was talking about Russell Wilson and, when he got to Wisconsin, that he sort of had this, reinvented himself as a big-time quarterback. He wanted to play baseball at NC State. So you win the Super Bowl is when Russell Wilson, I think, sort of realized he could play in the NFL. Now, that's what Jesse Palmer said, that Russell Wilson saw you win the Super Bowl and realized you don't have to be 6'4" with a cannon to win the Super Bowl. Did you ever hear that?
No, I haven't heard that. I'd say over the last few years, gotten to know Russell a little bit. And, we'll go back and forth, text message and talk, and have a great relationship. And I couldn't be more impressed with the way that he's, handled the success here over the last 3 years and how he's developed his game. And obviously he plays with a ton of confidence, as does his team. I love just what a positive attitude, he has, and he portrays that, in everything that he does. I think he's certainly a guy that, a lot of people can look up to, and the road that he's traveled and the adversity that he's faced, and now the success that he's reached as a product of that, and his humility along the way, I think is, something to be said for all of that.
Yeah, but you changed people's opinions. That you gave people a chance to dream who are 5'11", 5'10", 6 feet quarterbacks, because I think a lot of these guys probably felt like I wouldn't get a chance in the NFL, and because of your success, you did that. You opened people's eyes. Well,
I mean, I guess that's flattering, and I didn't know that, but I mean, there were guys that came before me that I looked up to in that way, like Doug Flutie. And I played my first 4 years in this league with Doug Flutie. He was the starter in San Diego when I got there in 2001, and he mentored me, and getting to work with him every day and watch him play every day, I got that same feeling. Sure, I had my doubts coming into this league about whether I could play, and anytime you kind of take that next step, you're wondering how you're going to stack up. And watching a guy like Doug and the success he was able to have over a really long period of time, and I don't think he got the credit or the opportunity sometime that he deserved, just based merely upon his stature. He's 5'9". So people say you think it's hard to play quarterback at 6 foot. How about 5'9"? But the guy was unreal, and I know he used to talk about Fran Tarkenton all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Fran Tarkenton had somebody before him that he looked to in that way. So I think that's just there's a chain of guys. I think as you go forward here, that there's going to be a guy here in the league in 10 years that is in the league because he saw Russell Wilson. Right, and look up to him. So that's I think that's one of the really cool things about what we do is you have the chance to impact people like that.
It's Drew Brees of the Saints joining us, Dan Patrick Show. I was wondering about this, where we see these kids coming in running the spread offense. Now, you ran a version of that at Purdue, but I don't know if you had more autonomy to be able to call plays if Coach Tiller let you audible, and so that it made it a little bit easier to go into the NFL, whereas Marcus Mariota or Cam Newton and some of these other kids who are running a spread, all they do is look to the sideline, coach calls the play, and you turn and just say, hut. So did you run a different version, or is it the same that these guys ran?
No, it's definitely different. You know, obviously the guys that you mentioned are superior athletes, and the quarterback running the ball is an even bigger part of their offenses than it was in ours. Now, I ran the ball more in college than at the time than I think you would assume in a spread offense. And I think most of the time when you think spread, it's just 50 times a game and you're just chucking it. I think that was the old spread, was that philosophy. And now you're inputting these incredible athletes at the quarterback position who are as much running backs or have the skill level of running backs and the speed and the agility as well as the ability to throw the football. So I think the game's definitely evolved and changed. Now, I would never look to the sideline for a call. I think playing in that system at Purdue with Joe Tiller and Jim Chaney and Greg Olson and those guys, that helped empower me in so many ways, give me confidence. It helped me mature as a football player, as a quarterback. Just, hey, you know, you're in charge, you're calling the shots. You know, we're giving you the tools to go out and be successful. And now, you know, it's your job based upon your preparation, your film study, and all these things to know the looks to get into at the right times in order to, you know, put us in the best position to succeed. And so that certainly carried over to the NFL. You know, I was used to having those types of responsibilities. And yeah, I mean, I'd say what changes in the NFL is, number one, everybody around you is a superior athlete. You know, so it's no longer you maybe the best athlete on the field or the best player on the field. I mean, there are a ton of great players, and the windows close down very quickly. The decision-making has to speed up because the speed of the game is faster. You know, the clock seems to be moving faster. I mean, everything is just kind of gets kicked up a notch. And then I think mistakes are magnified at our level, whereas you can overcome certain things in college because you have just more opportunities. I think you just have limited opportunities in the NFL.
You had some trade rumors involving you, which has to be kind of interesting to read those. Do you call anybody in the? Do you call Sean Payton and say anything you want to tell me, Sean?
No. If something was going down, I'd hear it from them. I mean, so many things. There's so much speculation during the offseason, especially with some of the moves that were made. You know, I mean, I think there were things that happened around the league, and
was there any truth to any? Any truth to any
No.
of those rumors?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'd wake up in the morning and go to work out or something in February, March, and I'd see somebody and say, "Hey, I hear you're getting traded to Tampa. I hear you're getting traded to Buffalo. I hear you." No, it was kind of like I'd wake up each day. It was like, "Okay, who am I getting traded to today?" I mean, it just kind of became a joke. Again, I really wasn't paying any attention to it because number one, I didn't think there was any validity to it. But number two, I mean, worry about the things I can control. I can't necessarily control those things. Just worry about getting better.
What if the Saints draft a quarterback?
That's their prerogative. You know, at the end of the day, you're trying to acquire talent, and you know you're thinking long term. And I don't think that changes. That doesn't change my mindset, or my preparation, or you know my approach one bit. You know, I've been in those situations before, and again, I think if the idea is to prepare for the future, then great. If the idea is to bring somebody in to compete with me, then that's fine too. You know, at the end of the day, I don't control that, and I think competition brings out the best in everybody. I mean, nobody's going to push me harder than I'm going to push myself. So, you know, for that reason, I don't concern myself with any of that.
What are you doing with what's the Super Service Challenge?
You know, the Super Service Challenge is a campaign that we got involved in, our foundation, Brees Foundation, back in 2011. And basically what it is, it's a campaign to create a movement for service around the country. And so what we're doing is we're encouraging organizations, church groups, companies, you know, just getting a group of buddies together, form a team, choose a charity that you want to go serve that charity, and then upload a video to superservicechallenge.com or the app Super Service Challenge, basically describing who you are, the charity that you serve, what you did, and then how they might use funding. And then when you upload that video, we then have $1 million this year in 2015 that we will distribute to every one of those charities. Every charity that gets represented and a video is uploaded will receive some sort of funding. And so over the last, basically we've done this every year, and over the last 3 years we've been able to contribute over $5.5 million to charities around the country. And it's as easy as just forming a team, going out serving, and then uploading that video, talking about the charity that you serve and how they might use funding. And so many benefits to it, not only the impact that you make for the charity that you serve, but also for you as a team, whatever it is, whether it's our football team, whether it's a company, whether it's a youth group, whatever it might be, just that rewarding feeling that you get from serving together. And I think it builds so much, not only for who you're serving, but for the team that you go serve with. It's
superservicechallenge.com. Before I let you go, the last time you talked to Jimmy Graham was when?
About a week ago. Yeah, we talked quite a bit. The real tough part, listen, this whole thing, it doesn't change Jimmy and my relationship. I mean, the only difference is we don't get to see each other every day. I still feel like he's a younger brother to me. I mean, that's the type of relationship I have with him. And, I felt like we were going to have a long career together, but unfortunately that wasn't meant to be. And I know that he's going to continue to go on and have a great career, and we'll always remain close friends.
Enjoy the offseason while it lasts, Drew. Thanks for joining us again.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
All right. That's Drew Brees.